This is the night of the living reviews. Welcome back to Night of the Living Reviews. For our first victim, we have the following. Story and narrative, 16 out of 20. Gameplay and mechanics, 20 out of 20. Graphics and visuals, 16 out of 20. Technical performance, 16 out of 20. Sound and music, 6 out of 10. Artistic aspects, 6 out of 10. Total score, 18 out of 100. Incredible. It is Hearts of Iron 4, as completed by Alex Zafiro. Well, what a treat that was. Up next, after years of wanting to get into Bionicle lore, this game marks my very first step in what seems to be a long journey. Does this game make a first good impression on the world of Bionicle, or is it just another trash licensed game on the system? The latter, of course. This game is a top-down platformer that just feels awful to play. Depth perception is just atrocious. The jump feels weird to do and not precise at all. Your only means of attack is throwing fruit at enemies. This game just isn't good. I like the world that it sets up, but the game behind it is just awful. Thank God it's at least short. Lego Bionicle Quest for the Toa on the Game Boy Advance, as played by Susie Epser-Rose. I am a true fan of Bionicles. Yes, the OG and first fighting game. Tekken 3 on the arcades, as played by Zekai-kun 1. Once you get used to the older janky first-person controls, this game is actually a pretty fun romp. The level design and timer both encourage this sort of fast-paced, chaotic playstyle that made for some really exciting and funny moments in co-op. While the game is pretty short by modern standards, the variety in weapons, environments, and enemies was really impressive. Really wish the female player characters weren't so disproportionately sexualized compared to the male player characters. That was Time Splitters, a review by Cameron P. Morris. 3.5 stars, as played on the PlayStation 5. The movement is chef's kiss. Everything else, not so much. Definitely worth one full playthrough though, which is more than I can say about most Metroidvanias. Rusted Moss, completed on Windows PC. by Jicky. 3.5 stars. Where it all began for me. Graphics, good. Gameplay, very good. Audio, good. Audience, teens, adults, grandma. PC requirements, decent. Game size, workable. Difficulty, significant brain usage. Grind, average grind level. Story, some lore. Game time, to infinity and beyond. Price, worth the price. Bugs, minor bugs. Question mark out of 10. 10. 7 Days to Die. Played by Zach Hugs Back on Windows PC. 5 out of 5 stars. I want to like this game so bad. Probably more than any video game I've ever played. But god damn it, this game, in its original state, is so poorly designed and just an overall frustrating slog of a time past the first world. Said first world and like half of the second world are pretty fun, but I usually just stop playing just before I beat Land, just because in my heart I know it's not really worth it to keep going since the game already peaked levels ago. For who adventure past Land, prepare for one of the most unfairly difficult 2D platformers you'll ever play. Thanks to the devs never having playtested the game, that's funny, but it's not a joke. All culminating in a strangely underwhelming final boss. Anyone who can beat this game on an original console with no cheat codes or anything of the sort, I have nothing but respect for, especially if they manage to do so in one sitting, or God forbid without dying. But I'd bet that the amount of people fitting that description is one that you can count on your one hand. Trust me, this game is not one to be taken lightly, not even because it's some sort of daunting gauntlet that only the most skilled retro gamers in the world can accomplish. It's just full of random bullshit thrown together to create artificial challenge, from annoying mechanics to overly precise jumps that Rayman is not agile enough to make, to what essentially equates to the equivalent of a pixel art middle finger made out of platforms. If you value your hair, I don't recommend this one, as you will want to pull it out. However, as fundamentally flawed in design as this game is, I still am somehow unable to hate this game even if I tried. Everything else about this game is far too charming and valuable to do so. The beautiful art style and graphics that really push the PS1 to its limits sometimes, even despite it being just a 2D platformer. The soundtrack, which might be one of my all-time favorite video game soundtracks. The amount of creativity and passion present in every crevice of this game, from its very conception to all the details in the backgrounds of all levels and the bizarre characters and world designs. And if nothing else, just the endearing world, characters, and aesthetic of the game that makes the game truly one of a kind. When you think about all of that, it makes sense why Rayman blew up as much as he did. It wasn't necessarily about creating the best designed platformer, it was just creating something special and unique that could spark the player's imagination and could stick out in their mind years after the fact, which this game certainly does for me. Luckily, it seems to have done the same for millions around the world after initially releasing, allowing it to become a franchise, which I'm really glad it did because I think Rayman really deserves it. Rayman is one of my all-time favorite game franchises, and while this game may not have been the best first outing, it was just good enough to warrant expanding it into something bigger with Rayman 2, and I'm so glad it did. Even still, Rayman 1 still has a pretty soft spot in my heart, and is a game I remember very frequently and fondly. Unfortunately, though, unless you love comically hard video games, I can't really fully recommend you actually go through the act of playing this game in good conscience. If you want to play this game and experience all it has to offer, which I'd still wager is a lot, play Rayman Redemption. It basically pulls an AM2R and fixes literally every problem with the original, while still keeping intact the general look, feel, and structure of the original, that I could recommend in a heartbeat. And if nothing else, maybe just try out the Forest World and call it a day after that if you're a pussy like me. Thank you, Spicy Sonic underscore, for playing Rayman on the PlayStation and giving us a score of 2.5 stars. Man, what a night.